Welcome back, everybody. It is the Working Brother. Yet again, we've got another talk. It's been a while. If you've been waiting on the YouTubes, I'm sorry. You should get yourself a Telegram and get the regular updates. As you can see, we've got Drago Bosnic, and we also have George McMillan III. We're doing this three-way thing regularly now. Camera quality, recording quality, I don't know. Everything's a little glitchy. It's not been running for a long time. We've got to get the dust off of this comedy show. Everybody who's new here, hi. This is a comedy show. Nothing we say here has anything to do with reality. Don't forget to subscribe. Where's that subscribe prompt? I haven't done this in a while. Oh, there it is. Subscribe, like, share, all that good stuff. Drago Bosnic. Recently on Russian Propaganda TV, RT, I've been shown that you can't really play Russia Today stuff on your own videos, otherwise they will also get blocked. So I'm not going to play the video of you, but I might link it in the description or something like that to like a Telegram post with it. But yeah, you were on there talking about the International Criminal Court, so we might get into that. We've got some memes today, and George here has the joke of the month. He has started his Telegram channel again, so you'll be able to follow all his updates and all the jokes that he writes about pipelines and petrodollars. Now that long, extensive intro is over, welcome, guys. How are you doing?
Great being here as always, man.
Great. Oh, sorry. Drago, go first.
No. I just said, it's great to be here.
This is not a TV show. We're not an RT. We're not on CNN or NBC or MSNBC. You can like jump into each other's sentences. Like there's no rules here. Like we don't have to be too polite. It's just a comedy show. We're just making jokes. So,
George,
to the articles.
Oh yeah. Okay. I restarted my. I restarted a Telegram channel to put all my Energy Newsbeat written articles on in one landing page so people can easily find them. And why did I do that? Okay, well, the situation changed after January 20th and I can put more stuff in writing. All right, the other thing is, yeah, everything I do, all my methodologies are sequential. So all my shows are sequential. So, and then we do the videos after the articles I write. So everything, we can only discuss things verbally, very in general terms. If people want to see the in-depth causality of why things are occurring, go read the written articles. If you want to learn how to do integrated geoeconomic, geopolitical, and unrestricted warfare targeting package models, go to my my new Telegram page where I'm posting those things so you can learn how those things are integrated. Okay, why is that so important? Because anybody that's been tracking my slide sets, my sea power versus land power slide sets on Working Brother shows over the past couple of years, and my pipeline and petrodollars videos on Stuart Turley's, and my Russian natural gas and realignment series of papers that I've been posting since this, late November, December of 2023, will have known that there is no way the Kellogg plan would have worked. And all Putin has to do is nothing and sit and just watch the European economies collapse.
Okay,
the other thing
since Drago is not going to interrupt, I'm going to interrupt. Drago is on a timer because he's got to be elsewhere very soon. Because as you can see, he didn't get dressed up for us because we're a comedy show. He definitely has other places to be. So he'll be doing that, and then maybe he'll join us in the next recording. But in the meantime, I want to get his take on some of these articles that he's written. Now, he's selected about 15 of the articles that he's written, of like the 35 maybe, in the last month and a half that we've been missing in action. And we've been busy. We've been working. We'll get to that as well. But we've got, what have we got here? Zelensky resurrects. This is both of you plus the TV. Zelensky, this is Brick's info portal, by the way. Zelensky resurrects over 600,000 Russian soldiers while NATO cries it's over. What do you mean resurrects? You want to tell us what you're talking about here, Drago?
This is an older article. This is like February, mid-February. So the interesting thing is in one of these articles, he said essentially that there are approximately 250 to 400,000 dead Russian soldiers. He kept it close to 250,000. So that's around 600,000 less than what they were claiming before. So it seems the Russians have started using necromancy to resurrect their guys and, win the war, I guess. If people want to know the details of the numbers and all the things that don't add up, I suggest they read the article so that I don't just, spend the next 15 minutes trying to explain it.
All right, shall we zoom past onto the next one then? Let's see what we've got here. Sure. Europeans desperate to stay relevant, but still tossing the Ukrainian hot potato to each other. Well, Europeans. Yeah.
This is one of the funniest parts to me. It's also like a February article, but it's still very relevant because, as we all know now, the NATO is trying, or at least the EU NATO part, is trying to push for the so-called intervention and sending so-called peacekeepers into Ukraine. The problem is nobody wants to go first, everybody's like, oh, I'm right behind you, buddy. Just go ahead and then, I'll be there. It's very funny because even the Poles, who, as we know, are traditionally quite Russophobic, are not really, up for this idea. The UK and France are the ones who are pushing this the most, but they also don't want to go first. Poland said, we're ready to provide logistics and we're ready to even provide our territory, but we don't want to send our soldiers. I just want to point out, even peacetime Western forces, with NATO militaries, have issues with recruitment. Now imagine, telling someone, oh, you have to go fight the Russians in Ukraine, because it really, ended up real good for Europeans in the last 400 or 500 or 600 years. It's a very interesting.
You said Poles, and it reminded me of Interpol. I want to get your guys' take on something, but first I have to light the cigarette for tradition and remind everybody that you can buy me a coffee, by the way. I don't take sandwiches from anybody, but you can buy me a coffee. Link in the description. Let me do the pop-up thing. Where's my pop-up for the coffee thing? Do I have a pop-up here? No, I don't. That's terrible. I should get a pop-up here. Anyway, this is Dodik, wanted dead or alive. And then 3-4 days later, Interpol's like, this is worthless. So what's your guys' take on that?
Oh, man, this is so funny. The Dodik thing is so funny because, first of all, the state, the so-called state of Bosnia and Herzegovina, issued an arrest warrant with Interpol for a guy who lives in Bosnia and Herzegovina. So that's the so-called state of Bosnia and Herzegovina. They can't even arrest the guy who is officially on the territory of this country, so-called country, but they want the Interpol to arrest him. I think this is like unheard of in the history of Interpol or any legal institution.
George, comments? How do you feel about have you heard about the arrest warrant of Dodik?
Yeah, I have. Well, just from watching your headlines and stuff like that. I mean, I've been through that area very briefly, not as much as I would like. So, yeah, I'm not nearly as up on that area as you guys are. But yeah, he shows up in Russia. He
surfaced in Russia is the official term, and I was just going to get to that because around those times, which is relatively recent compared to all the things we're going to tell you about in the coming recordings and talks, here we've got a bot that tried to infiltrate our chat, also known as General Media Conglomerate, where he shares a link from none other than Ground News. I had to make it a little more friendly to the eye. But we've got basically this kind of bot going, Ground News. So if anybody's working with Ground News, you're suspect, man. That's all I have to tell you. So yeah, pro-Russian Bosnian Serb leader Dodik surfaces in Moscow amid charges in Bosnia. He surfaced. He didn't fly there. He swam in the sewers, and then he surfaced out of the sewers.
Maybe it was a submarine, man. Well, who knows?
Well, it was a narco sub from Latin America. The Colombians gave it to him.
Yeah. What I want to talk about, what I would want to compare here is, that the Chechens and other people have been going into the Islamic areas of Bosnia, into the terrorist training camps, and ending up in Iraq and Afghanistan, that's almost 2 decades now. That is not talked about, but Dodik is. They have an arrest warrant for him, but they're not shutting down the terrorist training camps for the Chechens and everybody else that trains there. So, yeah. It gives you an idea of who's actually running those terrorist camps.
Time out. We've got the coffee thing. There we go. And it's also linked in the description. All right, Drago, you've got like about 15 minutes. Should we do another one of these articles?
Sure. I just wanted to say that, I'm 100% with what George is saying. Like, they're not talking about the Islamization and like radicalization of this Muslim part of Bosnia, and how this is dangerous for the security of the entire region. But they're saying that the Serbs, the Serbs are the evil ones. I'm gonna be like a devil's advocate here, and I'm gonna tell you, like, don't insult Muslims. Those are Salafis. There's a difference. Yeah, of course. Yeah, when I say like Muslims, I'm saying like they're trying to radicalize them. But I'm not saying all of them are radical. It's just that they're trying to push them into these Salafi groups that are going to, I guess, start conducting terrorist attacks or something, or engage in warfare, whatever.
Yeah, there's people from the Arabian Peninsula have been funding these Salafi Wahhabi mosques all over the world ever since the mid 70s. Well, if people just look at the Grand Mosque seizure of 1979, which occurred
I'll leave a link, George.
Yeah, just let me talk. After the Shia revolution in Iran in 78 going into 79, there was the Grand Mosque seizure where they wanted to have their own theocracy. The Arab oil sheiks started putting tons of money into building these Salafi Wahhabi mosques all over the place. I mean, not in just one spot, but they allow that to get built there, and they're after Dodik, but they're not trying to shut them down, and they're very closely associated with the terrorist training camps in that area.
This video is now banned in Saudi Arabia.
What's that?
I said this video is now banned in Saudi Arabia.
I said from the Arabian Peninsula.
But I put up the article in Wikipedia. I'm not blaming you. I consciously wanted this to be like banned in another country. Like, I was getting too many views recently. Like, I was doing nothing and getting views.
Yeah. So what I did way back in 2010 or whatever, I started looking at these articles. I would read that article, then I would click on every single blue link in that and start to read all the other articles. And then I just kept on clicking all blue links in the other articles. And I spent months clicking on blue links and just learning about that, the fallout from that Grand Mosque seizure. And yeah, it took a long time.
We've got 13 minutes of Drago left here.
Okay, go ahead.
I wanna get into some more, how should I say, current topics. Drago, you want to tell us about the F117 that was not invisible, and how actually there might have been 2 of them and a B2? And do like a quick roundup of the fact that, it's not only time for pumping in Serbia, but it's also time for, remembering the NATO aggression and the people who died then and that kind of stuff. You want to take it from there?
The F-117 was really like space or alien technology back in the 1990s. So shooting down a jet like that, was really like a feat of heroism and ingenuity, especially because we were using these 1950s, 1960s Soviet era air defense tech, or SAM systems, specifically the S125 Neva or Neva M to be specific. So what the mainstream propaganda machine was doing for decades, essentially, not just years but decades, they were saying that this was like a feat of luck. So we got lucky and we shot down one of the best jets of that era. Anyone who knows anything about air defenses would laugh at that, because you don't just shoot missiles into the sky and hope that a jet is going to run into one. That's not how it works. You need to use radars, you need to use acquisition radars, then tracking radars, and you need to know where to shoot. So the point is, of course, on March 27th, the first F117 was hit, and that was just 3 days after the NATO aggression started. So that was pretty much one of the best victories for our military at the time. And then on April 13th, we got another one, and this was admitted by Lieutenant Colonel Hayline, who was flying in a formation of F-117s, and he claims that his wingman was hit by another S-125M system, or actually a missile that was fired by one of those systems. The commanding officer was Colonel Boško Dotlić, who also shot down an F-16C that was flown by, if I'm not mistaken, General Goldfein, who was one of the commanding officers of the U.S. Air Force. I think the previous one, before the current one. So it's an interesting
good joke. I have no idea what you're talking about. That's such a good joke.
No, he's talking about when you have radar units up that don't detect stealth bombers. What they bomb is SAM sites. So they turn on one set of SAM sites so it attacks it, and when it opens up its bomb bay doors to attack one radar site, they track it with other ones and then they hit it. So it's sequencing how they do their radars and how they do their tracking with their other IAD systems. They figured out a way. They figured out a strategy to do a counter strategy to get a predictable response and then blast it. That's the sequence that they're doing, and that's how they started knocking those things out of the air. There's a whole bunch of that going on.
Sounds like Russian propaganda that's become Serbian propaganda.
Well, I got the chance to talk to some of the people who were in the 250th Air Defense Missile Brigade, specifically the 3rd Battalion that shot down these stealth, or at least hit these stealth aircraft. It should be noted that the one that was hit on April 30th, actually, it got back to the Spiegelheim air base in Germany, but it was so damaged that it was, simply scuttled after that, because, repairing it would cost more than just making a new one. So, but the guys that I talked to, they said that they have, pretty solid evidence in terms of, their own actions, not in terms of, showing the crash site or something, or, the destroyed parts of the aircraft. They have evidence that at least one F-117 was hit, and maybe even a fourth one, because they were flying in formation when one of the air defense missiles went off. And because this is like a proximity fuse that launches a bunch of these tungsten balls into in all directions, it's very possible to destroy an entire formation of aircraft flying. So, and one of them told me that a B-2 could have been hit, but we have no evidence for that. There was only one story about a potential B-2 hit that crashed in Croatia, just around maybe 15 to 20 kilometers into the Croatian territory, in the area of called Spačvanska šuma, or the Spačvan Forest. And there, the U.S. military came in, they cordoned off the area, and not even the Croatian police were allowed in. And there were like a bunch of trucks moving into the area and then moving out, and they were pretty much transporting not just aircraft parts, but actually dirt, because this is an extremely sensitive technology, and they wanted to make sure that nothing is nothing is left there for anyone to study or anything. I can't confirm this.
I need both of you to look at the meme and smile for the screenshot. Like, look at the meme and smile, George. This aircraft has performed an illegal operation and will be shut down. This is a meme from like back then. You have to look at it and smile so that I'll turn your smile upside down in post. Anyway, this is an original meme from back then, courtesy of the National Meme Coordination Body. Tell me.
I just want to say that, for people who think it's impossible, the B-2 has actually a larger RCS than an F-117. I mean, not just that it's a bigger aircraft. Actually, its RCS is larger than that of the F-117. The F-117 was
being radar cross section, for those people who are not sure.
For those who don't know, and people say, oh, the B-2 is a much newer aircraft. It's not actually a much newer aircraft. The F-117 was inducted in 1983, and the B-2 was inducted in 1987 or 1989, depending who you ask. But I think it's 1987. So that's like a 4 years newer aircraft. So it's not actually a groundbreaking technology in comparison to 1983. And of course, they were both aircraft were using RAMs, or radar absorbent materials, which are quite similar, because the technology that was used to make them was rather similar. I mean, it wasn't the same, obviously, because the B-2 was made by the Northrop Grumman, and the F-117 was made by Lockheed, later known as Lockheed Martin.
Yeah, the other thing that people don't understand, when they open up those bomb bay doors, they lose their radar cross section doubles or triples or whatever. So that's why you're staging, you're hitting the air with different radar waves, waiting for them to open up those bomb bay doors, and also noting that they're going to start trying to go after the different radar sites. So they're turning them on and off in different stages to try to light those things up when they get a second where those bomb bay doors open up to attack one site. They try to hit it with the other ones. So people don't understand that the timing of turning it off the different radar units to try to locate those things and then hit it with a SAM. If people watch videos on the wild weasels in Vietnam, they'll start to understand those strategies. That's where it started.
Where is the scene? There we go. While I've got you two here still, both, for another 4 minutes, Drago has, so we'll say 2. Excuse me, didn't mute myself there. Do you want to, Drago, maybe give your quick take on the Serbian protests and what we saw over the past month, and then we'll continue with George when you sign off, and get to other topics maybe for a little bit, and then we'll get back to recording in a couple of hours. But yeah, do you want to tell us what you think of the protest, Drago?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to say that I don't think the protesters all paid or whatever. I think that the whole idea of
I've got a visual here of the protests. Visual, just representation of the protests. Just watch what happens. Go on.
I was just about to say that protests and these color revolutions are controlled by a rather small minority of people among the protesters. And then they just leave, and they don't leave. They can, continue controlling the things from afar or from the within if they have
like
lieutenants or something. Yeah, to some place like that. And of course, the thing is, people who are part of the protest often don't even understand what they're being used for. And this is the case in like dozens of countries. I mean, this is literally a technology. We can consider it like a military technology that's used as sort of like a vanguard before the direct military action takes place.
Time out.
And
I have to interject. Remember what you're thinking, where you are, but I've got to put this up here because, by the way, there was this video that Putinger and Mr. Hoakin and myself made. I'll post the video later, but you can maybe see some ideas here of what didn't happen. And for those that are missing the point, there was no sound cannon. In any case, Drago, sorry to interrupt, but I had to. We're talking about military technology.
I was just about to say that, like, we've seen this in dozens of countries. We've seen that all across Eastern Europe, all across the former Soviet Union. We've seen that in the Middle East during the so-called Arab Spring. So, like, you know, it's sort of naive to think that these things are happening, you know, like just like spontaneously or as a coincidence. People are being co-opted into doing things that they otherwise wouldn't do. And this is the dangerous part, you know, when the group that controls the protests gets whatever they want, then the protesters can just go home, you know, but they don't realize the next day that their country has changed completely. I mean, it's not going to be obvious the next day, but it's going to be obvious in the following weeks or months or even years. And, you know, by the time you realize what happened, it's too late.
Just because we're going to be doing this for the first time, having a guest leave halfway through the recording, I'm going to probably go to the cutscene, which will be known as Blackout. Where is it? There it is. And yeah, that's it. That's what I want. Okay, so I will go to that, and then I will pause this recording when Drago leaves, and I will come back in a different setup with a different screen here with just George. So yeah, Drago, thank you for stopping by in this one-of-a-kind new style of talk after a long time, where you're a part-time guest. You're not even here for the whole episode, and you are in a hurry. But you will be back, and we will be recording.
I'll be back very soon.
George, anything you want to say to Drago before he's off?
No, we'll do it again.
Of course.
All right.
Of course, anytime.
All right. Going to Blackout. And pause. And there we go. That should be back to recording. And now if I go to guest plus me, we've got just George. Isn't that amazing? George, welcome back. It's just you and just me. And I am you and you are me. And we're all one, aren't we? Kumbaya and stuff.
That's very profound.
We have to keep it lighthearted here. By the way, I don't accept sandwiches, but you can buy me a coffee. That's my new slogan. Also, this is a comedy show, in case you guys forgot. I've got some comedy here from the 90s. George, you may not be aware of this story, but his name is... what is his name? He was a Greek captain of a ship. His name is... Where is it? Come on. I think his last name is Mitsudis. I just opened the file. How could I not find the file? Ah, there it is. Marinos Ritsoudis, a hero. Let's watch his story. Where is You, Me, and TV? There we go. Unlike the people in the streets who are pumping and disrespecting the people who died in many different ways, both died recently and died a while ago, here at Working Brother, we're respecting the people who died long ago and the people who died now by not using their deaths to cause a color revolution. And we'll get into that with George. George, do you want to clue people in on who you are while we watch this in the background?
No. I've been on your show before. That's all they need to know. It's on a need-to-know basis.
It's on a need-to-know basis, and if you need to know, if you need to know, you can check out the old videos. But the point is, he does have some military contracting experience. He has been in Afghanistan and like dangerous situations, so he knows a thing or two about events that are propagated worldwide. That's why he has his channel. We should circle back to your channel after this video is done. But the point is, this guy, look at him. Look at his face. He's so proud and so happy. Look at his face. He does not care. He's being court-martialed and jailed for 2.5 years, I believe, for defying an order to shoot at Yugoslavia, but mostly Serbs, his Orthodox brothers, as he put it. So yeah, not all heroes wear capes. Some of them have Navy uniforms. He not only disobeyed the order, but he actually took his ship to port, thereby delaying other firings that would have happened. You know, which is, you know, it takes some balls. George, any comments?
Yeah, there actually should be more of that. The Western militaries are highly manipulated, attacking things for just totally bogus reasons. The underlying causations are totally different. I mean, the people on your channel already know that, but our own military doesn't know why they do stuff. That's become really obvious. Well, ever since I posted up,
we've got a couple of memes.
Let me get into this. The reason why we did the 5 Industrial Power Center videos, you know, the original George Kennan one, and then the new Russian 6 Power Center, you know, the Russian natural gas and geopolitical realignment series of papers and videos and slide sets, is once you start to have a land power versus sea power dichotomy, or the rimland versus heartland dichotomy, or the Atlanticist Eurasianist dichotomy, however you want to explain that dichotomy, as soon as you start setting up, you know, strategy, counter strategy models and start wargaming it, you understand the underlying causality of different events occurring along the rimland and what the actual war is. If you focus on just one area, you're going to have tunnel vision and miss it. If you're just a news station, like if we're talking about the different video channels that just watch the Ukraine war contact line, and they don't look at what the big picture is, then they don't see the pattern. Then I watch a whole bunch of different shows trying to figure out what's going on. They're like, maybe this is happening. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. It's like people just willy-nilly working a Rubik's Cube. They can't figure out anything that's going on. If you go at it systematically and get a systematic understanding of what the pattern is, yeah, then you know exactly what's going on. So that's why my systematic investigations are so good. And that's why, yeah, when I do them on Energy Newsbeat, when I post those articles about a systematic investigation over a series of articles rather, and videos, yeah, that's why they get attacked to such a degree that they are.
We'll get into that probably in the next recording, but I want to flash up your channel here because we did mention it a couple of times. Both plus TV, there we go. GWM3 channel, pipelines and petrodollars. This is now public again. You can go there and you can scroll things and see what's going on. There's a lot of things to see. George has written a lot of things, and you may even be able to scroll back in time and see more interesting things from way back yonder. I will leave links to some of George's articles for Energy Newsbeat and to this new channel, new resurrected channel. But yeah, George, as you may know, protests happen in Serbia.
Yeah.
Totally spontaneous, against violence, for the people, by the students, from some email account. Probably. Maybe it was an Instagram account. I still want to know, when they line up all of them and they flash their phones, how do they get them to blink at the same time? Is there an app for that? George, you had an interesting take when I still haven't gotten around to posting it, so I don't have a screenshot, but I have it saved. Your take on the protests in Serbia and how they have nothing to do with any of the other protests that are happening in the region, and they are totally organic and real, and all the other protests are obviously fake. George, take it away.
Oh yeah, when they're protesting all the populist, either already elected politicians or people that are running for office, every single place up and down the Danube River Valley. It's a pattern. You just
reminded me. Democracy in Romania. You wanna refresh people's memory of democracy in Romania and Europe and France?
Oh
now?
Yeah, when they did the protests and started arresting Canon Georgescu.
Yeah. Why do you think that is, George?
And Marine Le Pen and Alice Weidel in Germany, and the FPO. I hate to say the FPO in Austria because that's a redundancy, but the FPO in Austria. A certain pattern begins to emerge, and we've been talking about this since we first started doing the videos. Of the EU moved eastward to shut off all Russian trade. And they're taking over all the maritime, riverine, and terrestrial land bridge choke points. Romania is on the Danube River. They want to control the riverine checkpoint, so Russia can't take its oil barges from Novorossiysk and bring it up through the Danube, through the locking system. So they control the Danube River at Romania and Bulgaria to cut off. To make sure that you can't send Russian ships up to all the other countries on the Danube River, which you might be familiar with that river. I don't know.
I've heard of it. I've heard of it.
Okay.
I've heard of it, and if I recall correctly, it's like large or long or important or something like that. Can't remember the details.
Look at a map.
You know what I didn't hear of, or heard of, but didn't hear, because it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Like the genocide in Bosnia didn't happen. In Srebrenica, there was no genocide there, and the same thing applies to the sound cannon. There was no sound cannon in the Serbian protests, and Håkan Flores from New Resistance, as well as the cat from Puttinger's Cat. Helped put this video together, and now that I've got you here, George, I'm gonna play this full screen. Can we get full screen? Guest plus TV? No, both plus TV, both plus TV. There we go. I'm gonna play this full screen, and I'm gonna play it from the onset, and we're gonna watch it, and then we're gonna see your take on it. All right, you with me?
Yeah.
Excellent. So. There was stage protests. Where is the full screen thing? now with audio in Serbia.
Mislim da ne možemo da niti da isplaniramo, niti da kontrolišemo, jeste upad u bilo koju instituciju, da tome nema smisla da razgovaramo sad ovde, zato što se to ili desiti ili se neće desiti, a to zavisi isključivo od mase. Tako da mi da hoćemo to sad da isplaniramo, ne bismo mogli, ako se desi, jedino što ja vidim da mi radimo je da učemo, mislim kao...
Možemo povesti, ja.
Ali kako možemo povesti?
Pa 100 ljudi krenut će ih ideti. Završna parola, a ja ovih 30 indijanaca što imam, to je verovatno predloženo, ćemo i predložiti tamo da se maskiramo svi. Ja ću nositi masku i nabudući kaškir nekako, nosim ono. I oni su svi većinom ljudi koji su stavili u akciju i ne boje se toliko od nasilja.
Dva minuta pre nego što će se 15 minuta tišine završiti iz pravca Beograđanke, masa je počela strahovitom brzinom da se razdvaja na dva dela i ostao je prazan prostor u sredini ulice. Sa ove pozicije gde se mi nalazimo, ja nisam mogao da vidim da li je bilo reči o automobilu koji je pokušao da uleti u masu. Pre će biti da je došlo do neke tuče i do iznenadne reakcije ljudi koji su pomislili da automobil ide ili da se nešto dogodilo.
So, George, what's your take?
Yeah, bring up on your Google terrorist attack cycle and bring it up on your screen.
All right. You want to reintroduce people to the terrorist attack cycle while I Google it?
Yeah. You have a target selection.
Hold on, let me put you full screen. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, you have a planning, deployment, attack cycle, escape, or exploitation phases of it. Or you have a target selection, target surveillance, target selection, attack cycle, and then escape, evasion, and exploitation cycles is the basic idea. And that's true of any kind of operation. You can bring up terrorist attack, cycle and bring up a video, but it doesn't matter if you're doing any kind of activity, whether it's overt or covert activity, you still follow those basic steps.
So here we go.
Yeah, just pick one because it's
okay. We've got target selection, planning, deployment.
Yeah.
Attack, escape, and exploitation. And then it goes back.
Right. So these basic stages, and there's different intermediary stages. Okay, that 7 or that 8 cycle attack has the intermediary steps. But as long as people understand that each one of these steps is known beforehand, so each one is anticipated of how one's going to flow into the other. So you have different people in the organization that are focusing on making the next stage happen. So if you're planning an event, you're going to be ready for each one of these cycles. So they've gotten so good at infiltrating groups since the late 1940s, when immediately after the Cold War ended, especially in France. today.
Oh, by the way, did I forget? This is a comedy show. In case anybody of you forgot, nothing we say here has anything to do with reality. George is a stand-up comedian. He likes to sit down often, though. And the video we just watched was a comedy skit. Just to be clear. Keep going, George.
So the with the fear of the different labor groups, a lot of them being communist and some in Germany, but the big ones were in France and Greece becoming communist. They tried to infiltrate the more Western oriented socialist leaning groups that weren't full communist. They started infiltrating these groups to get them to protest against the actual communist groups because they didn't want to have, after the defeat of the Austrian painter in World War II, they didn't want Western Europe to become communist. So especially the Frankfurt School got very good at manipulation techniques and hired by certain discrete entities in the Western governments and how to infiltrate these left-wing groups.
I've got to interject, but I promise it's related, because you said that they've gotten really good at infiltrating, and I just loaded a meme by Vex Perun from chat, which was actually stolen by Serbian Metaverse Quest, but we'll get into that on another show. Both plus TV. We've got this here. This was sent in by Vex. The Serbs that are skeptics are going, hey, hold on there 1 second, boy. This is a little too good to be true, maybe. You know, they've got all these symbols that are like pro-Russian and no EU, and like, you know, pro-church, pro-Serbia, pro-Kosovo is Serbia. But that doesn't mean that they're not controlled, is what I think this post is getting at. What do you think, George? Considering you said 2 sentences ago that they got very good at co-opting these things.
Yeah, they got very good at infiltrating, co-opting, and then steering them. So they had the Frankfurt School was hired by certain discrete entities with the United States in the 40s and 50s. A group of psychologists, Marcuse, Horkheimer, and Adorno. Also, Edward Bernays. Well, if you back it up, they started using learning from Pavlov's classical conditioning and B.F. Skinner's operant conditioning. It found its way into the behavioral school of J.B. Watson in the field of psychology, which got picked up by Edward Bernays and how to do mass manipulation techniques. So using Freudian psychology and evolutionary psychology is where that intersection is. The Frankfurt School elevated those techniques and then started applying them into these different left-wing protest groups during the late 40s and 50s. So the discrete entities started hiring people to do this, you know, the psychologists on one hand. Then they started getting heavily into these left-wing academic groups where they started getting very good at organizing students to go do this. Then they got the people that were really good at it to keep on going. All right, fast forward that into that grew into the civil rights Vietnam era protests, both in Europe and in the U.S. Then when you had big tech and social media of different people from different ideological spectrums signing up and putting their own profile into the big tech algorithms, then they're doing vast link analysis of how these groups work. So then they can actually target certain groups to go out and protest and not tell anybody else. So they can get these groups out there and then use big tech to actually manipulate these different left-wing groups
You mean, when you
And
say
get
big
them to
tech, you mean
protest.
social media? You mean social media at like a massive scale to like, feed people narratives like Facebook has officially experimented on, including in Yugoslavia, in Serbia, sorry, and other places where they, I think it was back in, I don't know, 2007, go look it up. But the point is they did an experiment for like 2 weeks where they tried to feed people negative things on their feeds, haha, get it, and then to see how their reactions and their posts would change over time and how much they could affect their mood into posting statuses that are negative, basically. I want to, because we're fast approaching the hour mark, and no matter how special this is, I don't want to post-production more than an hour of this. So we're going to be cutting this off in about 5-10 minutes, and then you and I can continue on our regular stuff and get more into the pipelines and petrodollars. But before we do, I wanted to get your take, and of course, we had a little chat about it beforehand. Do you have a Magnum 44? Because this is what I did at 7 meters a long time ago with a Magnum 44. And I just wanted to put that out there, just because why not? Do you have a Magnum, George?
I have 357, not a 44. But look,
Oh, nice.
at 7 meters, meters, you should be putting all the bullets into one hole.
Oh, come on, man. With a 44?
Yeah. It doesn't
7
matter what it
meters.
is.
That's like 21 feet. And it's not like I handle it every day. This was like I picked up a 44 for the first time, comrade.
All right. Well, what I do is I take my revolvers and I used to dry fire the hell out of them until my fingers wouldn't move on both hands. Because when you're shooting handgun, the tendency is when you move your trigger finger that you're going to move your other fingers. And they call that milking the trigger. So for a left-handed person, it drags your shot, to the right. For a right-handed person, it drags your shot to the left. So by continuously dry firing revolvers, you get very good at moving your trigger finger without moving the other fingers. Then your non-dominant hand goes over and controls them more. If you work at this, because I worked at it every day, yeah, you can put all your bullets in one hole from 7 meters. No, you can put them within a quarter. But
realistically,
it takes. Yeah.
Realistically, at 7 meters with a 44, if any of these hits you, and they're all gonna hit you, if any of these hits you, you're not coming at me anymore, right?
Oh, I know, but I just put them into a size of a quarter or half a dollar. Or whatever.
You've had training. I'm an amateur. We'll get into gun shooting another time. Yeah. But yeah, I just wanted to put this out there.
To realize your potential. Okay. Also,
yeah, definitely.
You don't want to. Every time I look at someone that shoots a nice tight group, I ask them what they. What their shooting experience is, and it's all the same. Oh, they grew up shooting BB guns. So you're shooting something with basically no recoil and no noise. Mm-hmm. So those people don't flinch. When someone goes straight to a big gun like a 45 or 44 or something, they start lunging and flinching. Lunging is when your shots go low, and then flinching is when your shots go high.
Nice.
If you combine that if you combine that with milking the trigger, somebody will, lunge and flinch, or, lunge and then milk their trigger. Their shots for a right-handed person will go low and to the left. For a left-handed person, it's going to be low to the right. Okay. If someone goes to start shooting a big caliber gun right away, you cannot get the lunging and flinching out of their motion. If you start to shoot like a BB gun or a 22 at first, those people never develop a lunge and a flinch to begin with.
I think I might be one of those people, George, because I was getting shot at first by BB guns and then breaking them and then commandeering them and then shooting them back at people. Stories from my childhood defending Serbia's honor.
That's good training.
Because No, it really was good training. Like this kid came up to me, personal story, anecdote for longtime subscribers. They might enjoy getting the extra tidbits about me in a British school defending the honor of then Yugoslavia and getting attacked by rich Muslim Kuwaiti kids, both verbally and physically. And then at a birthday party out of school, we were kids, all of us. Like I might have been like, I don't know, 10, 12, something at the time. This kid starts shooting at me with a BB gun. Fucking walked over to him, grabbed it out of his hand, broke it in half, and then later got to experience shooting back also. So yeah, you can say I started my career or my experience, my how would you say it? My training, maybe?
Yeah.
In guns with BB guns a long time ago. Yeah. But I also went shooting a couple of times. By no means am I a pro or trained, but I know how to handle a gun. Even Texas was pleasantly surprised with my handling of a gun. Peace be.
Okay, good.
May he rest his soul.
Yeah. It's I used to well, Jerry Mitchell had always talked about dry firing. You know, I'm not the one that invented that exercise. Jerry Mitchell is the guy that really advocated that. He's an amazing shooter. No way.
Dry firing in the sense that, like, with no ammo, you're just going click, 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 basically.
Yeah, you want to do that to work out your fingers. Yeah, because if you're a lot of people squeeze those grip strength exercises.
And people go to the gym to look tough, and George is just sitting there going click, 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 click.
For people that squeeze balls or those grip things. Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm going to increase my grip strength to shoot better. No, they're training all their fingers to shoot at once, so they're training their muscles to drag. Mm-hmm. You have to train your just how to move this one finger very precisely.
George.
So, yeah,
we'll get into the gun tips and more pipelines and politics and protests.
Hey, you brought it up. It's your fault.
I know, but we'll continue. We're just coming up really fast on the hour, and I don't want to go over the hour for the sake of, just I don't want to. We've got 2 more memes here. This is a test for everybody who's, stuck around to the end. Are you going to comment about the last 2 memes, or are you going to ignore them and pretend you didn't watch the episode to the end?
Now that you brought up shooting, I want to talk about shooting.
We'll be back with more shooting, but
okay. All right.
This is me at war in a corner sharing memes because I ran out of bullets. No meme left behind. Also, as the official last meme. Let me get that.
Wait, open that up a little bit more. That picture.
Oh, do you know him? I'll send it to you later. Maybe you know him. Comedy show. I'm telling you, comedy show. Has nothing to do with reality. Where are my tunes? Is this the tunes? This is the tunes. Let me play the outro music. There we go. It is playing. And let me flash up the last meme for today. I'm proud to be a Serbian. Kill me, says this lady. This is circa 99. Not much has changed. I'm proud to be a Serbian. Kill me. You guys, thanks for watching to the end. George, thanks for sticking around for this very strange and interesting episode that we had today. Everyone, like, share, subscribe. You know what to do. All that good stuff. And see you later. George, you want to say bye? Nice.
Bye.
See you later, guys. Have a good one. Oh, and it's good to be back, everyone.